So this is Fleet 101, and we're going to move our ships to the new coalition staging. So after this class, I hope you'll be able to when you join a strategic operation or any fleet, you'll understand some of the lingo and understand the commands that are expected of you and just some of the etiquette of being in fleet. So the first thing that's really important for fleet communication is to understand the fleet broadcast window. So what I want everybody to do is go ahead and hit the chevrons that are on the sidebar and go look at the history tab. Does everybody see that? So this is where the fleet commander, FC, can communicate with the whole fleet. It's also, so this is where you'll see targets and aligns. And so this is something really important to get set up. So if the fleet commander can do things like tell everybody to align to that citadel over there, or they could even tell you there's a target, or use it to say warp to, but that's a little less common. So if you're watching the video here, you can see my targets are red. So that's something you can do that is helpful, is you can color code your targets. So we can do that really quick, your broadcast. So if you hit the hamburger menu, which is at the top left corner, and you hit broadcast settings, here you can see you can have everything X'd and turned on. If you're in Logi or the healers, sometimes you might turn off broadcast target, but right now I'll have everything on. Then you can actually color code things. So I like to color code target as red, armor I do yellow, capacitor I do green, and then shield is blue. Those are the ones that I like to have color coded. So air Lendum, use spotted an enemy. It's not used a ton. Sometimes in position is used to say that you don't need any more healing, but it's not used that often. So the other thing to know how to do is actually how to do broadcast yourself. So there on the bottom right, there's a pair of chevrons, bottom right corner, and you can click that. Now you see lots of little buttons. You can make shortcuts, and you should make shortcuts to these. But the most important one to know is broadcast needs shield. So everybody go ahead and do that. So mostly when you're in something like E-War, unless you're in a really small fleet, and you're not going to broadcast, that E-War is more expected to try to jam or disrupt the enemy, and if they die, they die. But at least now you know how, once you are in the DPS ship, so fleet names are named after their DPS ship. So hurricanes are filled with hurricanes. Caracals are caracals. Feroxes are feroxes. Sometimes they've got cute names that are confusing, but usually the ping, if you're in Slack, will say what kind of ship type to bring. So fireflies were actually Augur Navy issues, but that was a long time ago. All right, so the first thing, so now that we have our broadcast history up, and you're going to go ahead and keep this up almost whenever you're in a fleet. So you can go ahead and hit clear history. So the first thing I want everybody to do, we're going to demonstrate how some fleet warps work. And so the first thing I want you to do is go ahead and align to this broadcast. So when you're on grid, which means that you can see it, you actually have to hit approach. So that's what align means. But if it was something, so we'll go ahead and I'll warp the fleet over here. If it was something that was far away, like a gate, or something off grid, like the jump bridge, then you can actually hit the line. So I want everybody to go ahead and now line to the jump bridge. If you don't know how to find the jump bridge, you can right-click in space, and the corporation location should have jump bridges, and then you can hit align to. So that was a really good warp. So it's really important for the fleet to align together because then you also warp together. If we, um, excuse me, if you don't align, then the fleet, you warp after you align so that you wouldn't land together, and that could mean that the fleet isn't ready to fight at the same time. So right now we're all aligning to the jump bridge, but if the fleet commander were to warp us somewhere else, then we don't instantly warp like we did last time. So that's what's called a cold warp. So you can see how we just separated, and that's based on the speed, the agility of our ship that we just warped. Whereas now, if we align to the jump bridge, fleet commanders usually will give a few seconds, or they'll say align, align, align. During combat, they want you to align really quickly, so it's really important to follow those commands. And sometimes they don't broadcast, like I didn't broadcast that. So let's see. Oh, two people were not aligned, so we didn't warp with them. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over this class while we're traveling to the new coalition staging system, which is 08 TAC N7Q. I linked it here in Fleet, and what you can do is you can go ahead and right-click and set destination. So the FC will often, if the destination is something he wants you to know, then he'll go ahead and tell you to set destination. So once you're at the jump bridge, make sure that you're within 2,500 meters of it. If not, you're not going to be able to take it. Does anyone have a red timer, which is up in the upper left-hand corner, that's going to prevent you from using this jump bridge? Okay, so everyone go ahead and either left click and jump through or right click jump through to E3 TAC SD7. So Erlindum, I want you to be my +1. So if FC asks you to do that, it means he wants you to scout. So I want you to be my +1, which means goes one system ahead. So go ahead and go to Increl. All right, so the gate is red for the rest of the fleet when we get there. And what that means is it means don't jump through. And the other thing with gates is you don't say the J word. You don't say jump. You don't say do we jump? Because people hear that and they jump through. And the enemy could be on the other side. So then if only half the fleet jumps through, now you're split between the two sides. So make sure that you don't lemming is what it's called, or say the J word. So then the FC might say the gate is green, or go ahead and jump, jump, jump. It's important to jump through when they say that because then they're usually going to start aligning somewhere else on the other side. And if you get behind, it quickly adds up that you can start missing fleet warps. So go ahead and align to your out gate. What the out gate means is if you have set your destination, then the out gate is the one that's highlighted in yellow on your overview. So another thing that's really important for aligning, particularly if you're in a fight, is if the FC starts saying it's time to start saying to align, that even if they don't say it, you want to turn your prop mod, which is your micro warp drive or afterburner, off, because that'll increase your align time otherwise. Everyone go ahead and jump through. The gate is green. So the FC might ask you to hold your cloak, and that means when you come through the gate, they want to take that time, 30 seconds, to maybe to evaluate something or just take a small break. So just go ahead and hold your cloak. They might want everyone to break cloak at the same time, particularly if there's an engagement. If there's an enemy on this side, they might try to size it up or pick targets prior to everyone uncloaking. So wait to uncloak until they say. So everybody go ahead and align to your out gate. Align, align, align. 3, 2, 1. So the FC was not aligned, which does happen. All right, so on the out gate, we're going to go ahead and anchor up. So what anchoring means is you guys are going to keep at range 500 on me, or 1,000. Depends on what the FC wants. So an easy thing to do is go ahead and right-click on my name here and add me to watch list. I'll demonstrate on Dojo here. So once you have the FC on your watch list, you can just left-click, keep at range 1,000, or right-click, keep at range. So what that does is that now, if everyone's keeping at range on me, that lets me, when I fly, I get to, I'm piloting for the entire fleet. So that keeps us together, so it keeps us bundled up. So our healers would, if they stay within range of us, then we're all in range of them. It also means that if our guns all have 30-kilometer range, I know that when I can hit the enemy, that the rest of the fleet can hit the enemy. So it's really important to be on anchor. The anchor could say prop mods on, and that means, in this case, turn your micro warp drive on if you have it. And you want to go ahead and put it on and try to stay on anchor. These are all so fast, it's a little difficult. So Mia, you're going to want to put your prop mod on and stay on anchor. The FC might ask you to overheat one cycle, and to overheat, you can either shift click or click the green at the top. You need to have the thermodynamic skill, and what that'll do is increase the speed of the ships for one cycle. So if you fall behind, this is another way you can use to catch up. And you shift click again or click the green button on top to slow down. For some fleets, the FC might ask you to actually orbit them. So instead of keep range 500, they'll ask you to orbit. And there's certain fleets that's advantageous. So just listen to what the FC wants. So they might ask you to go ahead and burn a tactical. So I want everyone to. Mia asked if the FC is keeping like 70 kilometers from an enemy, but you can only target 30 kilometers. So that might be a skills issue. For instance, with Tal Wars, if you have low skills, someone with high skill could be out to 80 kilometers, and you might only be able to do 40 kilometers. So unfortunately, at that point, if they need to fight at that far range, then you won't be able to hit. But they usually try to take in, like for Tal Wars, they usually try to take into an account the kind of the average range that they're hitting with most of their pilots. I want everyone to go ahead and burn tacticals right now, and so what that means is if the FC asks you to burn a tactical, go ahead and burn off in any direction 150 kilometers from the fleet. So 160, 180 is safe, so the whole fleet would be able to warp to you. So everybody go ahead and pick a random direction, put your prop mod on, and burn a tactical. So this could also, particularly like an E-War fleet, this could be called starbursting, where we all burn off in different directions. So the other thing, so if we were an E-War wing in a fleet, if we all starburst like this, we could apply our E-War to the fleet, and then if you get attacked, you could warp to each other to be safe. So if anyone doesn't know how to warp to another member, anybody in your fleet who's purple, you can right click on them and you can warp to that person at 0, or even right click on their name in the fleet chat and warp to that person. So go ahead and pick somebody who's 150 kilometers from you and try to warp to them. So particularly in E-War, the whole time, if there's a fleet engagement, what you're going to do is you're going to drop a lot of tactical bookmarks, and to do that, you can do Control B. A lot of people just name them TAC or something else, and that'll drop a bookmark. So now if you can warp back if the fleet continues to fight and you're going to continue burning around. Once you're 150 kilometers away from that one, you can just continue laying tacticals. And particularly in our space, for home defense, it's nice having tacticals all over the place because an enemy might end up at that point and you'll be able to warp to it. Okay, everybody go ahead and warp themselves to the gate. All right, we got everybody, so the gate is green. So in a fleet that has to travel 18 jumps, our coalition staging is a little bit far now. The FC might ask you to go ahead and free burn. So what free burn means is now you're gonna be in charge of your own alliance warps and jumps. So I want everyone to go to the 3L 3N gate and hold there. So free burn there. During fleets, you're gonna want to have the combat tab up. That'll show you all the enemies. If for some reason you need to see If you need to see drones or fighters, the targets tab has that. If you need to find somebody, this is good for logistics. The friendly tab in the ZS overview shows you everyone in your fleet. This is a good time for questions if anybody's got any.
I got a question. So let's say if that comes up that you're in a fleet, your skills are not maxed out or anything, should we even show up or should we stay out of the fight?
So you can always bring Ewar or Tackle to any fleet. So if you, particularly in a long-range doctrine, which is Tau Wars Cormorants, you'll have more fun if you bring something else besides that one. DPS specific advice. So really, you want to be You want to be on top of the broadcast targets. The FC might also. They don't want you to start firing until they say. So they might have you lock up 3 targets, and they want everyone to alpha strike. So that's kind of how DPS is in Eve right now. So they want everyone's damage to hit all at the same time. So if you start firing early, they might change the actual target that they wanted you to fire on, and then you won't be with the fleet. If you enjoy DPS, getting those skills higher, picking one doctrine and getting to at least the meta fit. Often we'll have alpha, meta, and optimal fit. Getting to the meta fit will increase your effectiveness. So everybody hold on the 3L, 3N gate. All right, so here I want to show you another cool tool. This would be used for scouting. So this is called dscan.me. So what you can do is you can use the dscanner, which is just left of your capacitor. It's on. It's Alt D, and it also looks like kind of, I guess, sonar graphic when you hit the probe scanner. So what you can do here is you can filter for PvP, and you hit scan, and you'll see everyone's ships within a range of 14 AU and an angle of 360. And you can manipulate those to get a tighter estimate of who's around. And then with this website, dscan.me, you can select all, Control C. You Control V into dscan.me. It gives you a custom link, which should look something like this. And so now that just told the fleet commander everything that you're seeing in dscan, they can look at that. So if you're the scout, if you're in a tackle frigate and you jump through and you say the enemy fleet's here, he'll say, "Give me a dscan. This is what it means." Is anyone having issues with that? So it helps. You can also, on the dscanner, you can use a filter, which is on the upper right. I use the PvP basic Newt and NPC filter. All right, if there's no questions, everyone go ahead and jump through. All right, your new destination, not destination, but your new free burn target is this system. So everybody go ahead and free burn to that. So if you're in DPS and you are getting targeted, which is called yellow boxing. So on the broadcast, either in space or on your overview, you'll see that the enemies are starting to have yellow brackets around them. And if most of the fleet is yellow boxing you, that's when you want to broadcast for shield. If you wait until they're red boxing you, which is when they're actually firing on you, that might be too late. If you're being yellow box, you can also overheat your hardeners. So just like we overheated our prop mods earlier, once you're about to get fired upon, if you overheat them, then that'll prevent you from, if you have like adaptive invols, then that'll increase your resistances so that you won't die as quickly. Broadcasting on time is really important. One of the more advanced, this will probably be a while before, but right now heavy assault cruisers are really popular. We have been using Cerberuses. We're transitioning to Eagles, and those as well as assault frigates have something called a assault damage control, and what that does is it spikes your resistances up to 98% or more. I forget the actual numbers, but you have to hit it at the right time because it's like a single use, and you can't use it again for a while. So harpies are another doctrine that's coming soon. That probably easier to get into than eagles. So that would probably be your first chance to use that assault damage control. For targeting, the FC might have you target multiple targets. So it's important if he moves on, you need to know how to unlock targets. So I like to use the left click menu, so you can actually just left click and drag down to unlock a target, but you can also control shift click to unlock a target. So I just turned on, for the video, I just turned on the tactical overlay. This is the thing that's right below your cargo, the holds and bays button to the left of your capacitor. So the tactical overlay, many people say turn this on and never turn it off. I'm guilty of turning it off because it's not super pretty. But what this does is it gives you much more information about what's going on in PvP. So it'll tell you about your vector, your line, and you can also see your fleet members and the other fleets. So it'll tell you more about range information. So we do have a channel for new bros in strat ops, you'll hear them called, or strategic operations. There is a strat op new bro channel, and I have to dig it up. But if you, in the really big fleets where fleet chat is going really quick, then that's a good channel, a good resource to have to ask questions of what's going on. Everybody go ahead and jump. Is anyone, it looks like we lost a couple. Okay, they had jumped ahead. So let's free burn to B2 TAC. So you're hearing me say TAC for dash, and that's just something we say on comms to make the dash a little bit more clear. Some of the FCs will actually, so since B and V can be confused, it might say Bravo 2 TAC UQ. I'm not great with the different military acronyms, so unless there's confusion, I usually just use B. right outside of GAJV there, there's Victor TAC 3 and Bravo TAC 3, and those can be very confusing, so it's good to separate those. Also, an update for those of you who are new. We just had a big war over Tenerifis and MNC, and it looks like it's quieting down. So the kind of the north and east had allied to try to push us out of Tenerifis, and they actually did kill 2 keep stars. But then there was a big battle at UALX that we passed through. That there was many Titans on field. Our Titans started to win, and then the Goon Swarm started attacking the north a few days later, and our enemies retreated. So since then, we've been doing really well. Goon Swarm has killed 10 keep stars in the north, and just got, I think there is a, thinking of the right war phrase, but a 1 month cessation of hostilities based on the north paying 40 faction fortizars, which are unique stations. Ceasefire, there we go. 1 month ceasefire, and but they're paid about 6 trillion ISK to go away. So we were under a lot of pressure in June, July, and August, based on that war. So now is a great time for us to make ISK in our home, and then we're also still pushing. Fraternity is our major enemy, and we're staged just outside their space here in 08 TAC. So that's where we're heading now.
There's +1 on the gate.
Yeah, Stiletto, he's off. He wouldn't have much fun if he fought us. We just jam him out. So you heard he said +1. So +1 is they're talking about neutrals or enemies, and just means that there's another one in the system. Again, talking about DPS, if you have drones out when the FC starts calling to a line to warp away, make sure you pull your drones. They usually do try to remind you to pull your drones, but it's easy to leave them behind. So has anyone been on a fleet that they heard something they weren't familiar with and I haven't covered so far?
Booshing. Right. What's booshing?
That's a good one. Okay, so everybody go ahead and jump through. We're just going to go all the way to attack. So booshing is something that command destroyers do, which is a bifrost, like a bifrost. So that's a bifrost. So what command destroyers can do is if you're within, I think it's 2,500 meters, or there's a certain range, they can kind of warp everyone 100 kilometers that's within that range. So they can use both offensively and kind of defensively. So some fleets rely on everyone anchoring on the Busher or the command destroyer, which might not be the FC. And then they warp the whole fleet 100 kilometers so they can keep at range. It's kind of like an AoE MJD, which is micro jump drive. But they also can be used offensively, where you can like boosh off the entire logistics wing of the other fleet, so then their healers aren't in range and you can kill the entire fleet. Or you can boosh their logistics wing within range of our fleet, we kill their logistics wing. So the fleets definitely go really fast, and my big advice is to grab an E-War frigate and go on it and listen to it and just try to take it in. So standing fleet is definitely more chaotic. Um, it's not run like a fleet that I'm talking about, which is more of a strategic operation. Yes, so some command destroyers, if they all activate at the same time, you can chain them to go. If you activate 5, you'll go 500 kilometers. It's kind of a cool thing to try to pull off. That's a pretty advanced fleet tactic. It's only used in certain situations, but I've seen it done. All right, so we are now on 08 TAC, which is our coalition staging. So we are part of Legacy Coalition, which Test Alliance is the kind of big brother of Legacy. Brave is the next biggest. And then we have a number of other alliances that we are allied with, and that makes up Legacy Coalition. Everyone go ahead and dock the Keep Star. So one kind of fleet you might hear about is a Voltron fleet, and what Voltron means is it's the rest of Legacy except for Test. So we are always in Voltron fleets, and Brave is usually the biggest part of a Voltron fleet. All right, so we have made it here. You asked about the Intel channel for MNC. I assume it's int.mnc, but that might not be right. And MNC is pretty new. We're just capturing it now. So now that we're here, this is where all the Voltron fleets are going to go out of. This is where our offensive actions are going to go out of. So it's good to have at least one ship here, and the Dojo will have other. I need to get it here, but the Dojo will have other E-War frigates to supply, and it's really important. So when we were at active war, it was really important to have your death clone set. So at any time, or your medical clone, anytime you could stop what you're doing, stop ratting, stop mining, and jump to the staging system so that we could fight. Right now, things have died down a little bit, so I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and install a jump clone if you have one available. So to do that, you hit the clone bay, and you go ahead and install clone. So if you don't have jump clone available and you can destroy another one, that'd be good. Getting your infomorph psychology as high as you can is, I know it distracts from other skills, but it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of where you can jump to. You can jump about every 24 hours. If you train infomorph synchronization, then you can jump like every 19 hours. UALX attack 3 is not really used anymore now. Yeah, you could move that jump clone here. All right, that was a little bit longer than typically go because of the fleet. The distance was longer, but you're asking how do you move a clone here? So do you have a jump clone available, or do you need to destroy one? Oh, if you had a ULX clone, okay, go ahead and click on your character sheet. Go on the character tab, jump clones. Then you can, if you have one for UALX, you can hit destroy on it. All right, does anyone have any questions? thanks for coming. And I can't say enough. It's really important just to go on the fleets, get to know the terminology, uh, get used to keeping up with everybody. Yeah, grab and go for it. So Gravin asked a hard question. So how do you set your I need shield broadcast to a button? So let's see if I remember. You can hit escape. Then it's under shortcuts for combat. Then the combat tab. You scroll to the bottom. Nope, not combat tab.
It's
It's on
under
the
navigation.
navigation tab. Thanks, CCP. All right, so broadcast needs shield. You go ahead and edit shortcut. I set mine to the tilde key just because it wasn't used for anything else and it's close to the other commands. All right, thanks for coming. I'll be around for probably another hour. If you guys have questions, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording now, though.